12-bar blues practice routine in the key of G. First, a demonstration. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's break that down. Hey everybody, welcome back to Swiftlessons for another solo blues guitar practice routine. In today's session, we're going to be exploring the key of G major as I break down a bunch of classic licks and chord changes across the fretboard. Before we get there though, I want to remind you all that I'm running another giveaway. In collaboration with Zagger Guitars, we're going to be finding this beautiful parlor-size acoustic electric a new home. So if you want to add this guitar to your collection, all you need to do is head to zaggerguitar.com/rob-swift. From there, you're going to find a bunch of different ways of entering the giveaway. The link is down in the description. Now, let's get started breaking down this routine. Okay, a close look at the fretboard, getting started breaking down this practice routine in sections of 2 measures apiece. The first 2 measures are going from D dominant 7 down to C7, and it's going to usher in the turnaround, which will then start the progression. Looks and sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, real slow, and okay, it has this kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan chromatic effect going on. I'm starting off grabbing the root note of the D dominant 7 chord with my thumb. Next, picturing the minor blues scale in the key of D, I'm going to play this great little lick. And 1, and 2, and a 3, and a 4. Okay, so that began grabbing the root note on the low E string 10th fret. We're coming in just before beat number 1. So 3, 4, and. Next, 2 double stops, B and high E string 10th fret. Alright, from there we're going to bend the 13th fret of the high E string up. And then jump into this beautiful Stevie Ray Vaughan inspired lick. So 13, 10, 10, bend in the B string 13 as well, before a whole step on the high E string, and then finally, a little bit of chromaticism, 10, 11, 10 with a hammer and pull, and then finally that last bend. You put that together and we have, and 1, and 2, and a 3, and a 4. It's so important that you practice counting out these licks so that way you can see exactly where they come in, what beat you should be playing on. Okay, so you put that together and we have, and 1. Alright, from there we're going to take that down a full step and just change it up a little bit. So essentially the same exact thing, except now we're coming in right on beat number 1, combining the lows with the highs, my thumb and my middle finger. You put those 2 things together and we have a transition from D7 to C7. Alright, that's going to get us to measure number 3 of this routine, where we're going to play. Okay, so that began implying a G or G dominant 7 chord, grabbing the root note with the thumb, and then the B and high E string 3rd frets with the index finger. Alright, first we're going to do a double pluck and then just the highs. Next, alternating between the D and high E strings, 3rd fret, descending that bottom note. That was a double pluck, then the highs, same thing, down a half step, and then the open D string. Alright, put that together. So far we have Alright, next we're going to play the open A string and then slide up to a D augmented. Alright, a classic sound right there. Fretting the 5th fret of the A string, 4 on the D, and then 3 and 3 with the index finger. Alright, then we're just going to have this little fill. 5, 2, 5, 2. And then the 5th fret of the D string to get us into the next measure. You put that together and we have measures 3 and 4 of our practice routine. Alright, and everything we have so far, starting from that D dominant 7. Okay, and from there we're jumping into the 12-bar blues progression in the key of G. Let's review that progression now, so that way you understand the underlying changes before you add in a bunch of licks and rhythms. So the progression in its basic form will be G dominant 7, a 1, 2, 3, C sharp 9, C9, 2, 3, and back to G7, 1, 2, 3, 4, G7, 2, 3, 4, C9, 2, 3, 4, C sharp diminished, 2, 3, and back to the 1, G7, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3 to the 5 chord D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, 2, 3, 4, and G7, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a D augmented chord, which is kind of like a chord alternative to D dominant 7, but it's very often used at the end of a 12-bar blues progression to add a little bit more tension. That signals that the progression is going to restart again, back to the 1 chord, G dominant 7. Okay, now that you have the basic progression down, let's dress it up with those licks and rhythms. Okay, so jumping into the 12-bar, going from G7 to C9. It's going to look and sound like this, coming out of that little riff. 1, and 2, and 3, and 1. And then that'll get us back to G dominant 7. Okay, so I started off finding myself on the 5th fret of the D string, then grabbing the root note with my thumb. Alright, then just grabbing a little chunk of the G7 chord, that's frets 3, 4, 3 of the D, G, and B strings. 1, and 2, and slap. Open A string, a C sharp 9 chord, going down a half step to C9, and the next measure. Alright, so there I had frets 4, 3, 4, 4, going down a half step to C9. So far you have. Alright, next, some very cool slide and double stops. Alright, so that was G and high E strings sliding up to 5, then down to 3. Same thing, 1 string up to the ceiling. Alright, then again, but this time frets 5 and 3 of the A and G string. Alright, sliding up, down, and then sliding back up a full step. So far you have. 1. Alright, that'll get us back to G dominant 7, where we're going to play. A great Kirk Fletcher inspired lick. Okay, so I'm hitting the low E string with the thumb, a slap of the strings, and then a triple pluck. That G dominant 7 chord. Frets 3, 3, 4, 3. Using my thumb, index, and middle fingers. Alright, then. So here I'm picturing the G major pentatonic scale. Alright, it's going to be in what we call the D shape, caged position. I'm playing. right, so that was 7, 5, 7, 5. 8th fret of the D string, borrowing from the minor with a slight bend. And then right there at the tail end, 5, 7, 7, 5. So far you have. All right, and then just a little tail at the end. All right, so that was 7 pulling off down to 5 on the D string, A string, and then back to the D string 5. Put those two measures of G7 together, and it should sound like this. A 1 and 2, 3. Okay, that's a great place to stop and practice. Let's see what you have so far, going back to the very beginning of the practice routine and that D dominant 7 chord with the Stevie Ray Vaughan influenced lick. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. C. And turn around. The augmented, 12 bar. C9. G. Okay, from there we're going to move to the 4 chord C9, where we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. Okay, so this is a very interesting technique here. We're playing the 4 chord, but then we're moving up a half step to the optional passing chord C sharp diminished 7, frets 4, 5, 3, 5. Next, picturing the arpeggio of this chord, I'm going to build this lick that works as a transition back to the chord G major. Alright, so that was 3, hammering up to 4, 2, 5 on the D, a hammer pull on the G string, 2, 3, 2, back to 5 on the D. Next, I'm picturing the G major triad and playing 4, 3, 5. Alright, put that together and we have. And the two measures of music right there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 diminished. Alright, from there, like I said, we're going back to the 1 chord G dominant 7, where we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and... Alright, very cool. Train whistle lick, kind of inspired by Skip James, borrowing so many techniques from the great blues players of the past. Alright, so here we are on the 5th fret of the D string. Next, a slap at the strings before grabbing the G dominant 7 chord. So 1 and 2 and 3, slap. Next we're going to play. Alright, so there I'm picturing the G minor blues scale played in its A-shaped position. Alright, so basically what we're going to do is grab the train whistle double stop. That's 10 and 11, high E and B strings, bending the B string up slightly. Next we're going to play. Alright, that was the 12th fret of the G string pulling off. 12 on the D. A hammer pull. 10, 11, 10. So far? Next, we're just going to alternate. 13, 10, 13 with a slight bend. Alright, you put that together and we have two measures of music over G dominant 7. Coming out of the diminished lick. 1 and 2 and 3 and slap. Train whistle. Alright, and then from there, we're just going to recycle what we played in the beginning, that turnaround section. So starting from the D dominant 7 chord, picturing it in its barred form, we're going to play. then we can finish up with the G dominant 7 resolve chord of your choice. I like to play a G9 chord shape, perhaps reaching my pinky out to the 12th fret of the high E string, doing a hammer and a pull. All right, for a nice ending. Okay, that sums up the entire practice routine. Let's go back to the very beginning and see if you can play along with me at a slow tempo. Should sound like this. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 1, and 2, and a 3, and a 4, and G. Augment it, 12 bar. C9, G and strum, C and strum and diminished, G and strum and slap, D, C and G and a little bit of a retardando and the resolve. Just like that. Alright friends, thanks so much for checking out this solo blues practice routine. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to enter my latest giveaway. The link is down in the description. I want to thank my patrons for making all these lessons possible. I hope you're enjoying those extra resources at patreon.com/Swiftlessons. And until next time, this is Rob coming at you from the Jersey Shore saying happy picking.